Let's talk about how long SAT training takes. It's the number one question, I think, on most students' mind. How long does this actually take? And I want to tell you a story that I read. Now, I didn't grow up particularly religious, but this story was a religious story. I don't actually remember what religion it was from, but it was a religious story, and it was about a priest and his disciple. And the disciple would ask the priest pretty much every day, when can I see God? When will I be able to see God? As this Google search over here shows, this is a fairly common question where the search gets you 1.3 billion hits. So the priest wants, the disciple wants to know, when can I see God? And so he asks the priest every day. He asks the priest, when can I see God? When can I see God? And the priest says, not yet, not yet. Soon you'll be ready, whenever you're ready. So finally one day the priest says, okay, you can see God today. Today is the day. Before you do that, of course, you need to, ritually bathe yourself in this sacred pool. And the disciple, he's super excited. He's totally happy to do that. So he goes in this pool to bathe himself before he can see God. And as he gets in the pool, the priest just holds his head underwater, just grabs him, just holds him underwater. He's there, he's struggling, and the priest just holding him there underwater. And finally, like a second before he's going to drown, the priest pulls him out of the water. And the disciple is, to put it mildly, shocked and infuriated. And the priest tells him to kind of calm down and tells him this: when you were in the water, when you were there, what were you thinking about? And the disciple says, I was thinking about trying to get some air because I was underwater and you were kind of seemed like you were trying to drown me. And he says, well, were you thinking about anything else? He's like, no, I was thinking about air. I had one thought in my mind, and that was it. And the priest says, when your desire to see God is the same level of intensity as your desire to breathe, then, and only then, will you be ready to see God. And to a certain extent, SAT training is similar to that. Now, it's not based on desire. I mean, if you guys wanted desired a higher SAT score any more than you do, I think we'd have a problem of a whole different kind of just general obsessiveness and craziness. So this is not desiring the score. It's not about that. It's about desiring a way of thinking and actually developing that way of thinking. So let me tell you what it's going to feel like when you're ready. When you're actually ready. When someone's speaking to you and you're hearing the grammatical structure of what they're saying, you know what things they're saying are dependent clauses or independent clauses, prepositional phrases. If you're picking out the grammatical errors almost without trying in spoken English or in written English, when it's that level, when you're reading through an article or newspaper and you just can't stop yourself from seeing both the grammatical structure itself, in terms of clauses and phrases and whatnot, and any grammatical errors, that's when you're going to be ready for the grammar section. When you read a reading passage, a critical reading passage, and you learn, you're reading as if you're learning information from it, and the information you learn from that passage sticks with you forever. That becomes just a part of your body of knowledge of the world, is the information in this random passage. Whether that passage is about dolphins or some random bit of history or two different political views about something from the 18th century, whatever that passage is, that's going to be when you read a passage once and that then becomes part of your body of knowledge, that becomes part of the stuff that you know about the world, then you'll be ready for the reading section. And not until then will you be ready to dominate the reading section. With math, when you look at a math problem, and now no part of you is even tempted to start plugging in random numbers, when you're looking for those algebraic connections, those mathematical paths that get you from the beginning, from the question to the answer, when you're looking for the most efficient things, when you can't stop yourself from seeing the most efficient connections that get you from the question to the answer, then and only then will you be ready. And that means when you're in school and your teacher's teaching some roundabout, nonsensical way and you're seeing a better way, that's what readiness feels like. It's a permanent state of mind. It's something that changes who you are. Now, you might say, wait, that might take a long time. Yeah, it might. You might say that might never happen. It might never happen. You might never be done. You might never be done. There is not a guaranteed endpoint to a program like this. If that phase never comes for you, then yes, this program is going to never, ever be finished. But that's what it looks like to be ready. And whatever process you go through, and it's going to be different for every person to some extent, whatever process you go through to get there, whether in grammar or reading or math, when you've gone through that and when this is how you experience the world, then you're going to be ready. And you're not going to be ready 1 second before that. Now, I want to help you out a little bit and just tell you the big traps that can get in the way. A lot of people will say, well, you can just kind of short-term memorize a reading passage and then you'll be able to get all the answers right. And then no, you can't. It can't be done. If you're reading a passage to get a perfect score, you're not going to forget the information in that passage. It's part of your body of knowledge. People say, well, you can just kind of do the grammar on the SAT, but not worry. You will be thinking grammatically about all language. When you're doing that, that means you're going to be ready. It's a permanent thing. It's not a temporary thing. With math, people say, well, you just do this algebra a little bit, and then you just kind of forget algebra. Trust me on this. If you get a perfect score on the SAT math, you're never going to forget algebra. Now you might say, well, my parents forgot algebra. Maybe they did. That's their natural right to forget whatever they want. But if you actually get a perfect score on the math, you will never be able to forget algebra. You will be better at algebra in the future than you are at the peak of your SAT training. When you're 80 years old, you're going to know more algebra than you did when you got a perfect score. That's what it looks like. And the same is going to be true of grammar. The same is going to be true of reading. There's no specific timeline. This can take any length of time. But if you come in with that mindset that says, I am here to make this way of thinking a part of my life, and I want to be able to think that way, the way a drowning person wants oxygen, then you're going to get there. And that's what it takes to get a perfect score or a close to perfect score on the SAT. I'm going to tell you from experience, having gotten perfect scores on multiple tests, the GRE, the GMAT, etc. When I hear somebody speak, I hear the grammatical structure of what they're saying, the grammatical structure and the grammatical errors. When I read an SAT passage once, I know that information for the rest of my life. When I'm looking at a math problem, I'm only looking for the algebraic connections. My mind is not even capable of trying to plug in random numbers to see some nonsense. That's what it takes. And when you both have the desire to make that a permanent part of yourself and then achieve making that a permanent part of yourself, then and only then will you be ready to take the SAT.